Good day. This is meteorologist John DeFluri on the night watch at the Fleetweather Ocean Routing Center in New York. Today is Monday, December 19th at around 7 GMT, and welcome to the latest Fleetweather connection, where today we'll be focusing on heavy weather across the North Atlantic Ocean. Starting with the satellite image of the North Atlantic, courtesy of the College of DuPage, I'm going to highlight a few of the main features that we'll be discussing in today's video. Starting off in the northeastern portion of the basin, we have this strong storm centered here, as we can see on satellite. Now this storm is going to make its way to the northeast, generally pretty slowly, crossing over the northern portion of the British Isles before filling over the North Sea later in the week. Now the next area that we're going to be looking at is more in the western portion of the basin, associated with a broad complex low with the number of low-level centers located roughly about here and here. I know this complex low is going to make its way to the northeast, following behind this first storm we were talking about, and making its way up towards the British Isles by later in the week. Now we did get a pretty good ASCAP pass of that storm in the northeastern Atlantic Ocean. We can really see just how broad of an area of storm force conditions are associated with that. So this is in one of the low-level centers, kind of to the southwest portion of that storm. We can see that just to the north of that center, all the storm force wind barbs, and then extending even further to the north and south of that, we have a large area of these gale force conditions. So this storm definitely causing quite a large area of heavy weather to be impacting a large portion of the Atlantic Ocean at the current time. Now all these storms have been associated with a pretty active winter gale track across the North Atlantic. And to get kind of an idea of that pattern, we can see what the jet stream pattern has been like. So this is approximating the jet stream with the 250 millibar wind speed on the GFS here. We can see that the pattern has been mostly zonal across the Atlantic Ocean, allowing those systems to move pretty quickly from the U.S. East Coast up towards the British Isles and Norwegian Sea area. But as we move towards the end of the week, we are expecting to see a little bit of a pattern change. So we can see the amplitude of the jet stream becoming a little bit more pronounced, especially as we make it Thursday into Friday. We can see over the U.S. East Coast here this ridge beginning to form. And as it makes its way into the open Atlantic, that ridge really becomes more pronounced. And then this is into the weekend. The ridge is really building, and then with an associated trough just out in front of it. So with this then, we're expecting to then have an area of high pressure forming over Iceland by the beginning of the following week, which is really going to force this storm track much further south. It could cause for the development of some cutoff lows and some slow moving systems to just be meandering across the eastern portion of the basin. So that's going to be something we're going to have to closely monitor in the coming days. Then it's taking a look at the latest run of the GFS to see how this is all going to play out on this run of the GFS at least. So we can see here is our complex storm in the northeastern Atlantic and that broad low off the Canadian Maritimes in the western Atlantic. Again, very broad area of heavy weather impacting a lot of the North Atlantic at the current time. And as we move forward, the area of 7+ meter seas around that storm really does expand a bit to the south, with some higher conditions impacting the eastern coast of Ireland then by the 20th at 12Z, and persisting into Wednesday and Thursday, before conditions kind of gradually ease for a brief period as that first storm fills over the North Sea. But then that second gale begins to make its way to the north and east towards the British Isles, becoming complex. And again, very broad area of heavy weather associated with it by the end of the week. But then behind that is whenever we begin to see that pattern change, maybe beginning to break out across the Atlantic with pretty strong high moving off of the western or the eastern coast of the United States, and then making its way to the north and east. And then again, like we saw in the upper level, this area of high pressure forming over Iceland, forcing the storms a little bit to stay a little bit further south, and then kind of just meandering across the eastern Atlantic. So definitely a lot to monitor over the coming week, and we'll definitely be sure to keep on top of it, keeping everyone well advised of any updates. So that will conclude today's video on the North Atlantic. Please make sure you subscribe to our channel and follow us on LinkedIn to receive all the latest weather and routing news. Once again, this is Meteorologist John DeFluri from the Fleetweather Ocean Routing Center. Stay connected and safe.